No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning and welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. We're going to be talking about risk in retirement, and that includes about taxes, market risk, inflation risk. You have interest rate risks. There are so many different type of risks that we're going to deal with. I mean, we deal with those even pre-retirement, but in retirement, some of these become even more important. And having a plan for how to deal with these risks, how to minimize or maybe even eliminate these risks, is going to be an important part of your retirement years. This is going to be the difference potentially between running out of money and having plenty of money, all right, to be able to do all the things you want to do, to be able to attain and maintain your standard of living and your quality of life, no matter how long you live, right? And it's not just about surviving in retirement. We're not talking about just getting by. We're not talking about, oh, I can live on just this amount if I had to, but is that what you want to? All right? Don't you want to thrive in retirement? Don't you want to be able to have fun? Don't you want to have extra money to do the things that you want to do? To be able to pursue those leisure activities, to be able to check off that bucket list, to be able to do things with your family and your whether your kids or your grandkids or whatever that might be? So these are the things we're going to be talking about, is that those risks can put your lifestyle at risk in retirement if you don't have a plan for them. And one of those, if you think about it, whether you're still working and maybe approaching retirement, or whether you're talking about already being retired and how to make sure that your money lasts, or whether you've retired and started a second career or went back to work either full-time or part-time. Whichever situation, this is going to be important information for you today. So think of it this way: for how long? All right. So again, this would apply to anyone. If you're getting paychecks right now and those stop, how long does your money need to last? How long are you planning for your money to last? Right? How many years might you live in retirement? 20, 30 years maybe more, right? And is your money going to last that long? Have you got a plan for that? If you're already retired, some of the decisions you make each year can impact whether or not you run out of money, or whether you'll have to, or whether your money will shrink over your lifetime, or potentially even grow, or at the least maintain where you're at and provide all the income that you need. So some of the risks we're going to talk about today. One, I just went into some of these, right? Market risk, interest rate risk, inflation, taxes, longevity, which the longer we're living, the more all these risks become even riskier, if you will. All right. Common deductions. We're going to talk about taxes. Taxes is one of those areas I talk about a lot on the show, and the reason is it can play such an important role in so many different things. It's not, if you think about all the different areas that taxes come into play and the different types of taxes, whether you're talking ordinary income taxes or capital gains taxes or estate taxes, any of these different tax risks that occur, that are there, how do you plan for these again to make sure your money is going to last at least as long as you do, and provide all that you want it to for you and your family? And thinking in terms of that income planning, it's things like Social Security. You're going to have Social Security. Well, Social Security can be taxed depending on how much income, other monies that you have. So there's another risk in terms of dealing with taxes. On your investments, how you're invested can determine what kind of tax rates you're going to have as well. So how to have a tax-efficient income, or tax-efficient portfolio rather, for investing. And yes, then tax-efficient income from those different income streams that you're going to have in retirement. So we'll talk about that. Recent tax reform updates, taxes and qualified money. So this, again, your retirement accounts. You've been able to put that money away and grow it tax-deferred, or maybe you have some Roth, so some of it may even be growing tax-deferred. It'll be tax-free money later. Required minimum distributions and dealing with those. Same thing, right? The money that you've been growing and deferring, and now you're going to have to start taking that money out. So even if you didn't need it prior to age 70 and a half, at age 70 and a half, the IRS requires that you start taking that money out and paying tax on it. For many, of course, you're going to be taking that money out even prior to that to supplement your income. We'll talk about how to do that, withdrawing strategies, in other words, that can help you minimize taxes. Taxes and Social Security, I mentioned, income and retirement, and then putting all this together in terms of a plan. And again, I'm going to be sharing things with you that hopefully some of this you might be able to actually implement on your own. I would recommend that you, of course, get with someone that understands a lot of the different things that we're going to cover. There's so many different strategies. You know, I meet with people every day in my office, and we're talking about their planning. We're doing a personalized plan for them, and in doing so, sometimes they'll have an idea. They'll say, you know, this is what I'm thinking I might want to do, and they're just and they've got good judgment, but they just don't know all the rules. So when I share with them some of the different tax strategies and other strategies that we use in my office, income strategies as an example, we're able to show them better ways, and that helps them improve their plan and make sure that they're able to hold on to even more of their dollars. And I'll go into some of that through through today's show. All right, now different types of retirement risk I've been sharing with you. One of them I want to talk about a little bit is that of market risk. Market risk is one of those areas when you're looking at the different types of risk, that understanding market risk can mean different things depending on how you're invested. So if you're a speculative type of investor, which is kind of like gambling, right? And you're buying individual stocks, and maybe you just have a few individual stocks or a few bonds or maybe even a few funds, mutual funds. The problem with that is and REITs are another one, by the way. The problem when you're chasing these higher returns and you're really trying to hit the home run, so to speak, you also risk the strikeout more. Okay, when you're swinging for the fences versus just making contact, you're likely to strike out more. And the problem with that means, you know, that puts you at risk. Now, if you're doing that on just a little side account, you know, you've got 10,000 or whatever, 50, whatever you can afford to lose and not affect your lifestyle, that's one thing. That's almost like a hobby account. And there's less risk there in a way. You're not putting your nest egg at risk. You're not saying, oh, I'm gonna, and that's the point here is don't put your nest egg at risk. The monies that you're going to need to live on in those kind of speculative ventures. That kind of market risk is where you can lose all of your money. Okay, 100%. If you play around with in certain ways that you can invest, like on options or margin accounts, you could lose even more. You could put yourself in debt. So but market risk, in the way that most of us are going to deal with it, and the way that I always, you know, with all my clients we work with, is setting up a portfolio where we're more concerned about volatility. In other words, we know we're not going to lose all our money, all right, but we are concerned still that market's going to go down. We're going to have losses. There are going to be years, in other words, that are negative years. 2018, for example, the market was down a little over 5%. All right, but now since then it's more than recovered. In fact, if you you know, this year we're up. I just did a review with a client. I think it was yesterday actually, and through 2018 and 2019. Even with that 5% down, I think we're up about 8 or 9% through that, you know, year to date, and counting 2018, so the last 2 years, in other words. So this is one of those areas we know that volatility means, yes, I can have negative years, but I'm also going to have more positive years. That's the way the market works. If, right, I'm properly diversified, and I understand the principles of asset allocation. And we talk about it all the time on the show, right? There's 60 years of Nobel Prize winning academic research showing us how to construct a portfolio. And then we look to do, when I'm doing a personalized plan for a client, what we're doing is we're matching up the portfolios according to what their income needs are and their risk tolerance, their comfort level with the market, and we're showing in other hedging strategies to help minimize risk and volatility to make sure that we're going to get those market returns, but with the least amount of risk, the least amount of volatility, stable income through the process, so we don't have to worry about lifestyle changes just because the market goes through another bear cycle. All right? So this is understanding risk, and inflation risk is why we're in the market in the first place, right? Inflation risk is because of the potential for losing purchasing power on our dollars that we have to make sure that we're earning more on our dollars. And we know that if we're in safe type things, guaranteed type things like CDs, for instance, savings, checking, money markets, those kind of accounts, they're not going to stay up with inflation and taxes, and we're going to be losing purchasing power. So we have to find alternatives to that. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about one of the bigger risks, longevity, and then we're going to get into strategies and talk more about some of these matters with regard to retirement to make sure, again, that we're going to be able to help you make more on your money, be able to make sure your money lasts longer, and that you're going to have the income you need to attain and maintain your standard of living, quality of life, no matter how long you live. All right, but first we're going to take a break. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.
The Storm 5 Weather Update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.